Hey, what's up, guys? It's Nausea. Wanted to do a video on this government surplus that I just picked up. It's a 2013 Ford Interceptor utility, otherwise known as an Explorer. So I just picked this thing up a few hours ago. Got, I think, a pretty decent deal, all things considered. Of course, it's not perfect by any means, being a surplus and especially a government vehicle at that. Can't look at that. But pretty happy with it overall. Wanted to do like a first impressions kind of deal. So it's a 2013, like I said, the Interceptor Utilities, which I guess it is a different designation than just a regular Explorer. These came with a 3.7. If you did not get the EcoBoost, which unfortunately this is not, but apparently the EcoBoosts are a little bit more rare. If you didn't get an EcoBoost, you got the 3.7 naturally aspirated, which the normal Explorers, like the civilian ones, got a 3.5 naturally aspirated if they didn't get the EcoBoost. So a slightly larger engine, a little bit more horsepower, not a whole lot, but a little bit more. There are a little bit of differences. There are some key differences between a civilian Explorer and the Interceptor utility. It does have a different tune on the transmission, so the TCM does have a completely different tune on it than a civilian Explorer. There's also some key differences on the inside. Your mileage may vary, no pun intended, when it comes to these Interceptors. So really depends on the agency that gets rid of them and whoever kind of like de-cop cars them. There were some that I was looking at that the whole back of the vehicle still had like the wall there, and there was actually one that I was looking at that actually was a K9 unit, and the whole passenger, or it was on the driver's side, but in the back there was like a walled off section, and this side was specifically for the K9. So there was like a window, like fan unit here. It was walled off, and then on the other side would have been where they would have kept minorities. But yeah, this one's mine. Of course, there's some wear and tear. Of course, they're surplus vehicles or government surplus. This actually came from a city about 20-30 minutes away from me. It's fairly low mileage. Of course, there are dents and dings, stuff that I may not worry about, but I might try to pull those out at some point, just because it's a black vehicle, and they're pretty noticeable. But I'll go ahead and show the inside real quick. There's some minor things here, like this stuff needs to be kind of like popped back in, and yeah, there you go. That was an easy fix. The Interceptor utilities do not come with the center console at all. They come with just basically a flat bottom there. So whatever agency is fitting these out will put their own custom center consoles here. So this actually is a leftover center console from the police department that was near me. I can only assume, because here's like the push to talk clips. I can only assume that this was probably for their sirens and probably radios and stuff right here. They basically just ripped everything out and left a big open gap there. So actually is nice, because it does leave me the capability to kind of put my own panel in, and I can put switches here if I do end up wanting to run like light bars, or if I end up wanting to put like a radio or any other accessories in here. It's kind of nice. Also, you can see how many DC outlets I have. I mean, I definitely don't have a shortage of those. There's 4 there, 2 more up there. So I definitely have enough power to run some things. I'm still kind of going over it to see what all is in here. One of the other small things, because these don't come with the center console, they actually come with the lever up here, whereas I believe the shifter is normally down here on the Explorers. if I remember right, my wife actually had a 2013, exact same year, Explorer. Of course, it was a civilian version. And yeah, it's been a while since she's had that, so it's kind of hard for me to remember. But like I said, some of these can be outfitted differently. Sometimes you'll have the wall there. Sometimes they kind of reconvert them. Of course, normally on the actual police vehicles, they don't have door panels in the rear. They kind of have those smooth ones with no handles. So they kind of re-outfit them with the back seat and door panels back here. Here's some of the wiring. So here's kind of an interesting thing. See if we can kind of walk around to the back here. They did leave some of the reflective stuff, which is, I guess, kind of cool. But the Interceptors, most of them didn't come with keyless entry. They have like an old school Ford key, which is kind of weird, but that's how they did it, with an old school fob. The guy I picked the truck up from, some Mexican dude running a kind of a little like corner lot. He's the one that kind of decopped everything, and when I was talking to him, he said he was willing to throw in the old smart siren system. So I have like all the wiring and everything that he ripped out. Kind of thinking about putting it back in. Obviously, I know like there's probably some legal shit with that, like running around with sirens actually on. But I think it'd be really funny just to have it hooked up, just to kind of fuck with people. Obviously not on the road, because that'd be stupid. But yeah, aside from that, here's kind of my my little setup. Let me get all this shit out of here. So it came with this little box back here with like a plexiglass, you know, divider. But there's some drawers in here. Police Interceptor. Someone's fucking coat hanger, I guess. These dividers, you're able to kind of move them into different slots if you want. This seems like the perfect place to have like a rifle setup, so I think that's what I'm gonna end up doing. I'm gonna take these dividers out. I'll be able to put my Draco in here with maybe like a chest rig and like a bug out bag or something. So I actually really like that this is back here. You do kind of give up some of the usability, especially if you have a family like I do, because normally these Explorers are third row, and they get rid of the third row, I think, on all the Interceptors. And especially like in this case, they have, you know, this whole setup back here. So this thing is kind of hard to move. I think it's like, yeah, there you go. It's like spring loaded, but that's to get access to your spare tire. There's actually a lot of room under there. Whoever put the spare tire in didn't put it in great. It's kind of crooked. But if I were to put everything back kind of the way it was, there'd actually be a lot of storage room under here still. So, you know, you can kind of utilize that too if you wanted to put some like emergency goods or anything back there. There's still some weird modules and devices kind of everywhere. Bunch of just strange wiring and a bunch of stuff that I don't know what it does. So as time goes on, I'll be doing videos on this thing as I do maintenance and modifications. There's a couple like antennas up top. That's it. Overall, it drives great. Oh, I forgot to mention, all Interceptor utilities come standard all-wheel drive. So even though not all of them are EcoBoost, they all came all-wheel drive, which is nice. It's kind of what I wanted. So for a daily driver, this thing should be pretty sweet. Be doing some update videos as we go along and do modifications and maintenance to this thing. So stick around, guys. Later.